Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Anisha Suhanis binti Azmi, and I'm going to present my research entitled The Effectiveness of CEFR-aligned Textbook Get Smart Plus 4 in Developing Year 4 Pupils' Critical Thinking. Background of the study. So CEFR-aligned textbook or Get Smart Plus 4 is different to primary school standard curriculum aligned textbook which is used for year 4. It is developed based on CFR framework and entailed with the detailed descriptors in 6 level of proficiency from A1 to C2. And this textbook comes with distinction in its presentation of instructional materials such as organization of activities and tasks, language skills, language type use, and contents. This textbook also has been acknowledged with its appealing design, well-constructed illustrations such as colors and pictures, comprehensible instruction, topics, contents, and activities. This textbook it involves the technology, including CDs, to deliver the content area and other educational objectives such as sensory competencies. Statement of problem. The deficit in pupils' capacity to think critically perceived despite various pedagogical and curriculum-based intervention has been implemented in education system. So pupils actually fail to meet the expectation of the world in thinking outside the box. In classroom, pupils fail to show ability to think critically, especially in English classroom. Many researchers actually argue that textbook materials support the development of surface learning, which resulting a failure to develop critical thinking skills. The purpose of the study to prove that the effective utilization of textbook is significant in contributing to achievement in learning objective and mastery of 21st century competency. And it is also to optimize the use of instructional material provided in textbook such as exercises, content, skills, and vocabulary presented to develop critical thinking skills. And it is a prevention to the teachers to practice lecture-based and teacher-centered teaching strategies. The need to carry out this research is to find ways to help the pupils to think critically instead of rely to the teachers to decide what to do and how to learn. The research objective. 1. To study the effectiveness of CEFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4 in developing year for pupils' critical thinking skills. Second, to discover what are teachers' perceptions in the implementation of CEFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4 in developing year 4 pupils' critical thinking. Move on to the research question. 1. How does CFR-aligned textbooks Get Smart Plus 4 engage year 4 pupils to think critically? And second, what are teachers' perception on the implementation of CEFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4 in developing year 4 pupils' critical thinking? Move on to the significance of the research. First one is to fulfill the aspiration of MOE to produce pupils with the ability to think critically for the purpose to report the value of importance and usefulness of this EFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4. It is also for administrators to use it as reference to evaluate the effectiveness of CEFR-aligned textbook. Last one is to prove the suitability of the CEFR-aligned textbook implementation in elevating Malaysian students' thinking skills and English proficiency. And related past research. Okay, these are 8 related past research that I have found. The orange one is the one that oppose the idea that the textbook actually provide platform for the student to think critically, while the green one is found out that they support the textbook actually provide students to think critically. Okay, for instance, the one that oppose the idea that the textbook provide platform for the student to think critically, some of them claim that the textbook actually oversimplified knowledge that cause the student to engage with only rote learning and surface learning. Move on to the research design. So this research applied qualitative design to to evaluate the effectiveness of CEFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4 on the development of critical thinking in Year 4 pupils. It is also to explore in depth in which elements in the Get Smart Plus 4 textbook are able to engage Year 4 students to think critically. Okay. Due to the unable to approach Year 4 pupils in any primary schools because of the pandemic, thus different teachers' perceptions are used in this research design. This type of data collected are narrative data from semi-structured interview, checklist data from the interview protocol as well. The evaluation of critical thinking skills can be drawn from the teacher's perspective, as mentioned before, and experiences in classroom. Population, it consists of Year 4 English teachers in Terengganu State, and they has been working in two demographically different schools. For the sample, I use purposive sampling according to these criteria. Okay, there are four participants that has been used, two teachers from each schools. It named Teacher KL, Teacher KN from SK Padang Air, and Teacher KS and Teacher KA, SK Sultan Sulaiman 2. Okay, these teachers actually has been teaching Year 4 using CEFR-aligned textbook Get Smart Plus 4. And their teaching experiences are varied. Teacher KL has been working for 17 years, Teacher KL 12 years, Teacher KN for 10 years, and the last one, the youngest, Teacher KL, Teacher KA 9 years. They has graduated from Teacher Institute of Education as English optionist, and they also have been working and teaching Get Smart Plus 4 since the first year it is introduced. And when the question, have they attend CFR or critical thinking a course or workshop? The answer is Teacher KS and Teacher KA did not attend, but they get the information about CFR information through their colleague. And while Teacher KL and Teacher KL, Teacher KL and Teacher KN did attend the CFR English and CFR course workshop in 2020. And about the critical thinking course, none of the teachers attend any workshops or course regarding the critical thinking. Okay, so the instrument used for the data collection, there are two. The first one is interview. The interview is semi-structured, and there are 16 interview questions divided into 5 sections, and the number of the question in each section is varied. Each of the section focus on the 5 textbook elements according to the McDonough and Shaw textbook evaluation model and checklist question compiled by Ahmad and Cameron 2019. Section encompass activities and tasks, language skills, language type, content and subject, as well as overall perceptions. While for the checklist, it consists of 16 questions. Same goes to interview question derived by the interview question that has been developed by the researcher herself. So in checklist, yes or no section and remarks section are included as well. Move on to the research procedure. So the first one, choose a research design and write research proposal. And then discover problems and issues related to the research title. And then I created objective question theory sparse research instrument. And after that, there is supervisor's approval and expert of verification of instrument build. Consent letter were distributed. After that, data was collected, and then data were transcribed and analyzed. Code and themes are discovered. The last one is write research report. For the data collection procedures, consent letter were gained and appointment was made. First data collection interview to first focus group participant was made in 1st of March in 2021 in Sekolah Kebangsaan Padang Air and permission gained to record. Second data collection interview to second focus group participant was made in 3rd of March 2021 in SK Sultan Sulaiman 2 and permission gained to record. Both interviews were carried out during office hour at around 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. After that, the research listened to the recording and transcribe. After that, verification by the participant of the transcribed data. And the last one is analyze all data collected from the interview. And for the data analysis procedure, the data collection start from 1st of March until 3rd of March 2021. And the interview data is the primary data. And the research listen to the recording and transcribe. After that, the verification by the participant of the transcribed data. And the data was analyzed from the interview. And the last one, interview transcription and checklists are analyzed based on the indicators and sub-indicators of critical thinking skills according to analysis, evaluation, and creating also based on the Bloom taxonomy. So this is the conceptual framework. Okay, for the independent variables, it is under the elements of the textbook, CEFR-aligned textbook, gets marked +4, which is consists of activities and tasks, language skills, language type, and content and subject. And the dependent variables are based on the Bloom taxonomy, analysis, evaluation, and creating. Okay, for data findings, the first research question, how does CEFR-aligned textbook get marked +4 engage you for pupils to think critically? The first textbook elements, activities and tasks. So the activities and tasks in the textbook provide platform for collaboration among the pupils. There are various activities and tasks presented in the textbook. So the critical thinking skills can be promoted based on the focus of the activities and tasks according to the Bloom taxonomy, because in the textbook there are activities and tasks that are only focused on the highest level of Bloom taxonomy, which is creating. And the data found that the listening and speaking activities promote critical thinking skills the most. Okay, move on to the skills, the second element in the textbook. Each language skills promote equal development of critical thinking. Okay, so according to the interviewees, language skills must be taught in organization based on lesson organization in the SKP. Okay, because to promote more to engage student to think critically. And the last one, and for the content and subject, the content and subject engage pupils to think critically because the content delivered use realistic content. And the content and subject used are also familiar to the pupils. And the topics and the titles in the textbook ignite pupils' curiosity. And the last one is language type. Vocabulary that is used in the textbook is also used in daily communication. And the vocabulary, the language type in the textbook focus more on correct language structure. What are teachers' perception on the implementation of CFR-aligned textbook gets marked +4 in developing year 4 pupils critical? So the teacher's guidance, the pupils actually need teacher's guidance to critical thinking thoughts. Okay, there are also misunderstanding about the context if the pupils cannot get enough and adequate guidance from the teachers. This text will actually provide a foundation of knowledge because it is from outside culture and context as well as correct structure of language. It is also attractive presentation of textbook element. And for the proper guideline, there are teachers' book and workbook provided by the stakeholders. It is more clear on learning outcome. Okay. So for the discussion, listening and speaking promote good critical thinking skill because listening and speaking is a instant evaluation for critical thinking skill. We can see in the classroom. And based on the data findings, the pupils actually do analysis when they listen, and they can come out with the evaluation skills when they're speaking. But not all claims from the findings can be applied to all pupils with various proficiency, because it must also be aligned with the pupils' learning preferences, proficiency, and background knowledge. Pupils with higher proficiency are different from pupils with lower proficiency. And teachers' ability to evaluate critical thinking skill thoroughly, able to distinguish critical thinking element, because there are no proper platform that they can provide to evaluate pupils' critical thinking. And the last one is teachers' commitment and effort to realize pupils' ability to think critically. Teachers actually have inadequate focus on critical thinking skills in teaching strategies, and the lack of questioning to pupils that need guidance to think critically. And move on to the recommendation and suggestion. More workshops and materials needed to assist teachers in developing in-depth knowledge regarding critical thinking. Teacher should also have mastered the art of questioning so that they could realize pupils' ability to think critically. And teachers also need to be wise in utilization of CEFR-aligned textbook materials and in implementing appropriate teaching techniques and strategies to enhance pupils' critical thinking. And for the suggestion for future research, a mixed method can be used, for instance, like using surveys and more participants involved so that perceptions can be validated. The third one is more in-depth textbook content analysis with the correlation of indicators in critical thinking skills according to Bloom Taxonomy. And the last one is in-depth study on each textbook elements to develop critical thinking skills. For the implication, it is also can be a reference for Ministry of Education to evaluate the effectiveness of this textbook. It is also for administrators to help the teachers to help the teachers to gain more information about CFR or critical thinking skills. And this is also for the English teachers that gain opportunity to improve teaching strategies. And it is also for year 4 pupils to develop their critical thinking skills.